So it's a very humanistic thing that we all have empathy built into us, that we believe, that we see something going on and we think to ourselves, I don't want this to happen to me.
Right.
That is the basis of empathy, and that is also ends up what drives most ethical concerns is, I don't want this to happen to me. Unless I know these justifications.
Part of it.
Yeah. But the thing is that with different cultures and different societies, what we see as good and what we see as bad, because we'll see different end results to different things that happen to people, our ideas of what we want and what not want will change. So that we all have different guiding principles for what we define as good and bad ethics, because good and evil. I'm sorry, I've drank a lot of coffee. My thoughts are not in a straight line.
It's okay. I'm with you.
Yeah. So then we see that, but then we basically believe that our ethic principles and what we go with, good and evil, we believe that based on what we have seen and how we have seen that be experienced by people, not necessarily by a higher power or religion. It's from a more humanistic brain person.
Right. But you see, what I'm trying to do right now is I'm trying to reach down inside of you and hit a button. Your conscience. I am convinced, sir, that you have a conscience that ties you into objective morals. That's part of why, not totally why, but that's part of why you experience guilt the same way I experience guilt when we do something that is objectively wrong. Well, guess what? The only way there can be an objective moral is if there is some type of moral lawgiver.
Yes.
If that moral lawgiver is culture, the power elite, or the individual, then it's relative. But your conscience, I don't think, tells you that. I think your conscience tells you, correct me if I'm wrong, the abuse of an innocent child is never good. It's objectively wrong to abuse an innocent child. Now you've got to ask yourself, how can that be true? How can that value of an innocent child be substantiated? Only if there's a God who created that child with value, innate value, and the person who abuses that child is doing that which is absolutely evil. Otherwise, it's just a social construct. Abusing an innocent child is wrong.
Well, yes, and it also goes again as an evil act, because we feel that if I were a child, I would not want to be abused in that way. So that's the idea. I don't fully believe the idea that God or a higher power gives us this feeling of moral and ethical value.
Right.
We learned that.
What I'm saying, though, is your conscience tells you that there is a real value.
Yes.
That innocent child is really significant, really valuable.
Depending on from person to person, because everyone will perceive this situation.
Exactly. If there is no God, that child does not have innate, absolute value. If there is no God, that child only has the value that I give it, or you give it, or culture gives it, which means it's relative. But if there is a God who created that child with innate value, then regardless of culture, regardless of mom and dad being abusive, regardless of the individual who comes in to stalk the child abuse is absolutely wrong. Well, the only way it can be absolutely wrong is if that child has innate value, and the only way the child can have innate value is if they're not just a bag of chemicals, not a cosmic accident, but a creation of God. See, that's why no moral relativist can live that out. You can't live out moral relativism. Because you know down deep with your conscience that certain things are really wrong and other things are really right.
Yes, but due to the fact that we cannot be in every place at the exact same time, that we are not Superman, that we cannot fly around the world and save every child or any person in danger, our brains have ended up developing certain self-defense mechanisms that allow us to shut down certain parts of our emotions, so we feel significantly less empathy for people outside of the situations that we are within. We see children like being kidnapped and turned into soldiers in Africa. We are not suddenly immediately filled with this urge to go to Africa and go out and rescue them.
Right.
Yet, if we believe in God and we believe in this higher power, then we should also feel that because God has given these children such inherent value, we must fight, we must do His will and go to Africa and rescue these children. Yet it's very hard. Yet you're standing here and talking to me about this debate, which I'm really enjoying. But we're not hopping on a plane to go rescue child soldiers.
And you have just put your finger on a great point. That is why followers of Christ have gone to Africa, South America, and Asia, and Uganda, to communicate Christ, to bring hospitals, medical attention, education, clothing, food. Bravo. That's exactly what motivates them.
Fantastic.
And my brother, who's a transplant surgeon, went to Nepal with all of his medical expertise. And he went to Africa, motivated by his love for Christ and his love for hurting people. And that is what followers of Christ have done for 2,000 years. And that's why Christianity spread so. Because instead of vacating the cities where plagues were, the Christians stayed in the cities where plagues were, getting the plague, but helping dying people.
I'm not attacking Christianity. Christianity has done great things around the entire world. The church has done a lot of good things, and a lot of people also argue that it's done a lot of bad things.
It has done a lot of bad things, the church has.
I don't follow very closely to what both good and bad things, because I believe in moral relativism, and my ideas of good and evil are subject to my own experiences. So, but the other thing is that
if you're a moral relativist, how can you tell someone that that was wrong?
How do I tell someone?
Because you're a moral relativist, how can you look into the face of someone and say, your racist attitude is wrong?
I don't tell people that.
You don't tell people that?
No, I don't. Everyone is welcome to their own belief and their own opinion, and sometimes when someone has an opinion that goes very strongly for me, I tend to just ignore it, or I will go with the assumption that they have their own belief. But that's sidetracked.
I respect you intellectually. That's great.
Thank you very much. But aside from what I was going to say, I just wanted to also say this. I also wanted to make a point too. Is that Christianity, Catholicism, all of these religions, they are schools of thoughts, and that they are just ways of conditioning us, giving us a set of rules and guidelines to follow throughout our life. A set of ethics and moral code to follow.
Sure.
And
that does exist.
Everyone is welcome to follow their own.
That does exist. Catholicism exists as a system. Protestantism exists as a system. Southern Baptist Church exists as a system. Sure. I'm not out here saying I think you should put your faith in any one of those systems. I'm out here saying the historical evidence of the way Jesus lived, taught, died, and rose from the dead is he's the truth. Put your faith in him. Not in a system, not in an institution called Catholicism or Protestantism or Southern Baptistism. Instead, put your faith in Jesus Christ. Why? Because he is more credible than any of the options. Why? Because his lifestyle, teachings, death, and resurrection are off the charts. Nobody has come close to it. That's why you should put your faith in him, because the evidence is he's reliable.
If you also choose to believe all of that evidence, I've put my faith in myself. It's just random chance and happenstance.
You put your... Thanks, man, finally. It's a privilege to meet you.
Oh, cool.
I've asked so many guys out here, okay, you don't believe in Christ, fine, but you have faith. Who do you put your faith in? And they say, I don't know. Well, you've been brutally honest.
Yes.
You're right. Gosh, I thank you.
I don't believe in Jesus. I don't believe in God.
But you went further. You said you put your faith in yourself.
Yes.
Okay. Now let me tell you why I can't do that.
Yeah.
All right? The reason that I can't put my faith in myself is because at times my reason breaks down and I dabble in the irrational.
Oh, yes, everyone does.
Okay. Secondly, the reason I can't put my faith in myself is because at times I do good, but at other times I do evil. I'm not totally reliable. Thirdly, the reason that I cannot put my faith ultimately in myself is that I'm 62 years old and I still love playing basketball, but you can barely get a credit card underneath my sneakers when I jump now. And I can promise you when I was in college, I could jump a lot higher. It's called the aging process. It ain't for sissies. It's not fun. Okay? So that is why, for me to put my faith ultimately in myself would be a big mistake. Because the evidence is, I am not very reliable. When you look at Jesus Christ, at his amazing life, teachings, death, and then resurrection from the dead, he is so much more reliable than I am, there's no comparison. So that's why I plead with you, transfer your faith from yourself to Christ. Why? Because he's more reliable than you are.
However, for me, having something reliable to believe in doesn't suit the kind of lifestyle that I enjoy. What makes me happy is
Man, do I like you. You are awesome.
I support. So it's a position of people choosing what they want to believe and not
Beautiful.
they need to believe something.
Thank you.
Just so you know, you've got
That's
something
the
like
best
that for your
reason to reject Christ. Because I want to live my way. I don't want Jesus interfering with my sexual lifestyle, the way I live for money, a career. I don't want anybody telling me how to live my life. I want to live my life. You're absolutely right.
Because
That's very tempting for me.
yeah, because we all follow our own moral guidelines and guidebooks, and religion is one that is given to us. The Bible is telling us how to live, and other people will make their own decisions.
Yep. And that is the best reason to be atheist or agnostic, because then I'm free to do whatever I want to do.
Yeah, and not push the belief onto other people.
Well, when you're free to do whatever you want to do,
With respect and kindness towards other people, follow the guidelines.
and you're going to try and convince me that you're always respectful,
Oh, no, not at all.
because I certainly am not.
Goodness, not at all. It's impossible to constantly be respectful.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Anyways, I forgot why I was talking.
Good to meet you.